Your resume doesn't make sense, and you know it. You've sat there trying to arrange it into something that looks like a straight line, and it refuses. The jobs don't connect. The skills come from 4 different worlds. Anyone reading it top to bottom is going to ask the question you've been dreading your whole career, which is, so what do you actually do? Here's what I want you to know in the next 10 minutes. The most useful human being in American history had a resume that was far messier than yours, and the mess was the entire reason he mattered. He never finished school. He was a printer, then a newspaperman, then a scientist, then an inventor, then a diplomat, and he was never formally trained in a single one of those things. And I'm going to show you the 3 specific habits that turned that scattered life into the most productive one anybody has ever lived, plus the moment where all his unrelated threads fused and quite literally won a war. This is episode 3 of History's Pattern Weavers, where we hold up the great scattered minds as a mirror. Leonardo showed us the guilt of the unfinished. Hedy Lamarr showed us the pain of being seen as one thing. Benjamin Franklin shows us something more useful than either. He shows us the shape, because his career was not a ladder, it was a web. And once you see how the web worked, you'll never look at your own scattered path the same way. Subscribe if you want the rest of this series, and let's get into it. Start with the resume, because it's genuinely absurd. He was one of 17 children. His formal education ended at around age 10. He was apprenticed to his brother's print shop at 12, ran away to Philadelphia at 17 with almost nothing, and built a printing business. Then a newspaper, then Poor Richard's Almanac, which made him rich. And then, at 42, at the peak of a successful business, he retired from it. Not to rest, to have time for the things he was actually curious about. What followed is the part that sounds made up. He did the experiments that proved lightning is electricity. He gave us the words we still use for it. Terms like battery, conductor, charge, positive and negative. He invented the lightning rod, a better stove, and bifocals. He founded the first lending library in America, the first volunteer fire company, a philosophical society, and a university. He redesigned the postal system. He charted the Gulf Stream. He taught himself French, Italian, Spanish, and Latin. He never attended a university and ended up with honorary degrees from Harvard, Yale, Oxford, and St. Andrews, which is why the world started calling him Dr. Franklin. And he is the only person who signed all 4 of the founding documents of the United States. One life, no straight line anywhere in it. So here's the first habit, and it's the one most of you have been punished for. He stayed a beginner on purpose his entire life. Most people are beginners once in their 20s and then spend the next 40 years defending the expertise they built. Franklin never stopped starting over. At 21, before any of the fame, he founded a small club of tradesmen called the Junto, a group of working men who met every week to argue and learn together, and he kept it running for decades. Printer, shopkeeper, glazier, surveyor, all sitting in a room asking each other questions they didn't know the answers to. Notice what that is. He was already successful, and he built himself a structure whose only purpose was to keep him a learner. He didn't treat being a beginner as an embarrassing phase to get through. He treated it as the permanent condition of a working mind.
That's your first mirror. The thing you've been apologizing for, that you're always starting something new, that you're perpetually at the bottom of some learning curve, is not a phase you failed to grow out of. In Franklin, it's the engine. And here's the part that matters for you specifically. Every field he wandered into gave him a set of tools he later used somewhere else entirely. He didn't know that in advance. Nobody does. Second habit, and this one is going to feel counterintuitive. He gave the good stuff away. Franklin invented a dramatically better stove. He was offered a patent for it. He turned it down. He invented the lightning rod, a device that was saving buildings and lives across 2 continents. He never patented that either. He could have been one of the wealthiest men in the colonies. He explicitly refused, and he wrote down his reasoning. Since we all enjoy great advantages from other people's inventions, we should be glad of the chance to serve others with our own, and we should do it freely and generously. Now here's why this isn't just a nice moral story and why it's strategic. Giving it away is what made him famous. The lightning rod put his name on every important building in Europe. His electrical work made him a scientific celebrity across an entire continent, which is not a thing that happened to colonial printers. He converted work into reputation instead of into money, and reputation turned out to be the more powerful currency, as we're about to see. For a pattern weaver, this is a live lesson. Your instinct is to hoard the half-finished thing until it's perfect enough to defend. Franklin's move was the opposite. Push it out, let it circulate, let it build the name. The finished thing in the world beats the perfect thing in the drawer, and the reputation it builds compounds in ways money doesn't. Third habit, and this one is the structural one. Every field paid for the next one.
Watch the actual mechanism. Printing gave him a trade. The trade gave him a newspaper. The newspaper and the almanac gave him money, and, more importantly, an audience. The money let him retire at 42, which bought him the free time for science. The science made him internationally famous, and the fame is what made him effective in the role that mattered most. Nothing in that chain was a career change. Each one was funded, enabled, and made possible by the thing before it. He was not jumping between unrelated jobs. He was compounding. That's the web instead of the ladder. A ladder means each step is only useful for reaching the next rung in the same direction. A web means every thread connects to every other thread, and value can travel across all of them. You have been evaluating your life with a ladder and grading yourself as someone who keeps falling off. You've actually been building a web. And now the moment where the whole web pays off. In 1776, the American Revolution was in serious trouble. The colonies could not win alone. They needed France, and France had no obvious reason to bet an empire on a rebellion that looked likely to lose. So, they sent a 70-year-old printer. Franklin had no diplomatic training. What he had was an unrepeatable combination. He arrived in Paris already famous, not as a politician, but as the man who tamed lightning. French intellectuals adored him, and then the old printer did something that only a printer would think to do. He understood audience. He had spent his youth writing under invented personas, inventing Silence Dogood at 16 and fooling his own brother into printing her. Then Poor Richard for decades. He knew exactly how to build a character an audience wants to believe in. So in the most fashionable city in Europe, surrounded by powdered wigs, he wore a plain fur cap and simple clothes, and let Paris see him as the natural philosopher from the American wilderness. Wise, unpretentious, authentic. It was irresistible, and it was completely deliberate. It was persona work, executed by a man who had been building personas in print since he was a teenager. The scientific fame opened the doors. The printer's instinct for audience did the persuading. And it worked. The French alliance was secured. And it is difficult to see how the revolution succeeds without it. Look at what actually happened there. He didn't win France with diplomacy. He won it with electricity and typography. Two threads that had nothing to do with statecraft, braided together at exactly the right moment by the only person alive who happened to be holding both. No specialist could have done that. A trained diplomat had no scientific fame. A scientist had no feel for audience. Franklin had all three, precisely because he'd spent his whole life refusing to pick one. So here's what you take with you. Your path is not a failed ladder, it's an unfinished web. And the reason it looks like a mess on paper is that resumes are built to describe ladders, and you don't have one. Franklin's resume would have been rejected by every recruiter in America. He'd have been called unfocused, a job hopper, a man who couldn't commit. He was the most useful person in the room, in every room, for 60 years, because he was the only one holding threads from more than one world. Stay a beginner. Give the work away. And stop asking which of your threads is the real one, because that was never the question. The question is, which two are about to touch? Next time in this series, we go back 1,000 years to a man who was a working physician at 18, whose medical encyclopedia was still being taught in European universities 600 years after he died, and who treated medicine, philosophy, astronomy, and poetry not as different subjects, but as one. Ibn Sina, and the idea about knowledge that our world of specialists has almost completely forgotten. Before you go, tell me in the comments, Franklin's threads were printing, science, and persuasion. What are your three? Not what you do for money, the three actual threads you're carrying. Drop them below and take a look at what other people are holding, because somewhere in these comments are two threads that are about to touch. Thanks for watching. Now go build the web.